For years, Sega tried to bring classic Sonic back. Sonic 4 was supposed to do it, but in the end it failed at what it set out to do. But in 2017, a group of Sonic fans managed to get a chance to make their own Sonic game, and the result was Sonic Mania, one of the most beloved games in the franchise. But is it actually a perfect game as everyone says? The game does feel like a lost Sonic game that should have been on the Sega stand, as it feels more like the classics as it should. But what made the classics work, it makes them work here and turns it up. And it does take a lot from Sonic 3, which makes sense as Sonic 3 is great, especially the gameplay and the level designs. We also have the shields come back from Sonic 3, but no insta-shield this time. But we can unlock it later. But instead, as the main gimmick now is the drop dash, which is nice, but why is that to be in every Sonic game now? I don't mind it in the new games, but when they ported it to Generations and they added that, it really turned me off from the game. But Shadow Generation was really good though. But that's for a different video. Tails and Knuckles are here, and they control the same in Sonic 3. Also like Sonic 3, Knuckles has some unique parts, and he also gets a unique boss and Mirage Saloon Act 1, which is designed around him, and it's pretty fun like most levels here. I can't really think of a level that I think is not that fun besides the final level. And speaking of the levels, we have 12, but 8 return from past games and 4 are unique. Having 8 returning scenes may seem repetitive, but for Act 2 of each level they're unique. Like in Chemical Plant you have these bouncy platforms, or in Oil Ocean the stage will be set on fire, and Quick if you have the flame shield. But in Act 2 you'll also have this atmosphere thing, where it's kind of like the thing in Sandopolis with the ghosts, but it's the atmosphere that kills you this time. There are some minor changes like in Green Hill where I'll just add some stuff, but other than that, Act 1 is usually the same and Act 2 changes up things a bit. But even some stages are a bit controversial from the original games are pretty fun here, like Lava Reef Zone and Metallic Madness. They're pretty good and fun here. But I'm surprised we only got only one zone from Sonic 1. I thought something like Starlight Zone or maybe Marble Zone, or combine it with Marble Zone with Marble Garden Zone, you know, thought maybe Act 1 do Marble Zone and Marble Garden for Act 2. That would have been kind of cool. But the bosses are unique and iconic, like the Puyo Puyo boss or the Death Egg in Act 2 of Green Hill Zone. Normally it's random robot for Act 1 or the Egg Heavies, and then Eggman for Act 2, or sometimes the Egg Heavies. Depends on how the game wants to change up things. They're all original except the Death Egg and Metal Sonic. They do enough to make them stand out. Metal Sonic will have a mini Silver Sonic, and in Mania Plus he'll become like his version of Knuckles Celtics, which I also like. I also really like the weather boss from Studiopolis. That one's pretty fun. And also I really like the Flying Battery boss, and I remember when the game came out, and there's a lot of fan art of the boss looking like Eggman's daughter or something. That was pretty cool, and I guess it was an inspiration for Frontiers. Let's talk about the new stages. Studiopolis is one of them, and I wish the game had a lot more unique stages like this, and Press Garden Zone and Mirage Saloon, they're just amazing. I also really like in the Studiopolis Zone you got these 1940s Eggman dancing. That's pretty fun. I like the other stages. Each act has their own thing. Act 1 for Studiopolis you'll be outside, and then inside there's the actual studio. Mirage Saloon you'll be in the plane with Sonic, then for Knuckles who are on the ground, and Act 2 they kind of just do the same act. But Act 1 in this printing press area, then for Act 2 we're outside. It's pretty fun, but Act 1 just have these Mega Man blocks and you. Ew, not these with disappearing blocks. Hell no. But one thing I really like is how the game offers a lot but never dwells in it or keeps you there for long. Each stage stands on its own, and it helps that each act feels unique. One thing that helps is the amazing OST done by T-Lopes. He really cooked here with the soundtrack. I think Press Guard in Act 2 is one of my favorites, and the final boss theme. Let's mention the story quickly as it calls back to Sonic 3 by telling it through the game. Eggman finds a Phantom Ruby and it can change reality and makes these new robots called the Hardboiled Heavies. So we just go through the stages trying to get the Phantom Ruby until we get all the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and until we fight Dr. Eggman and the Heavy King at the same time. It's such a memorable fight, and honestly, so is this game. But we're not quite done yet, as a year later Sonic Mania Plus would come out, remixing the levels with a new background and some little tweaks here and there, like Oil Ocean in the day and Green Hill in the evening. But the major thing is adding Mighty and Ray. Ray is like the cape in Mario World, and Mighty is a fusion of Sonic and, well, Sonic in his later games with the bounce bracelet and such. They also have some Sonic CD stuff with the ending cutscene, which is hand drawn, and the opening theme too. Also with some of the trailers. It was such a good time to see him, especially waiting for him to drop. Also after Mania are these little shorts called Sonic Mania Adventures. These little cartoons with no voice acting and some great visual storytelling. It was so iconic and made a trend for each Sonic game they have to have a little animated special or something. But Sonic Mania Adventure has 6 little episodes to watch and they're all pretty fun. But the main question of the video, is Sonic Mania the perfect game? I say no. The heavy reliance on returning stages keeps it from reaching that level. But it is very close. And it's the closest the series has come to capturing what made the classic era special while still feeling fresh. If Sonic 4 was Sega trying to imitate their past, Sonic Mania is what happens when the developers understand why the past worked in the first place. But it's probably the closest Sonic has ever come to perfection since the Genesis era. More importantly, it improved on what classic Sonic did and still worked with the designs, physics and creativity with the care, well, within 2D of course. So that's Sonic Mania, and if you like the video remember to comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.